A couple of weeks ago I showed you my double-cloche experiment, one cloche sitting on top of another to give more insulation and protection from the weather. Well, here's an update and some interesting information. But first up, I want to say thanks to Eddie from polytunnelsdirect.ie. I asked him if he could spare the end of a roll so I could make a couple more cloches. And he very generously sent me a massive parcel. I could hardly lift it. I was expecting odds and ends and offcuts and bits and pieces, but there's enough here for at least 20 more perfectly clear cloches. How lucky am I? Thanks a million, Eddie. Also, since that first video, I bought a couple of thermometers to see how the cloches were actually working. They were cheap, but they measure maximum and minimum. How interesting, how useful. I realise now I should have bought 3, but that's way beyond my budget, so we'll just have to make do with these. After 24 hours, this is what the outside one reads. So the top figure is the warmest it reached, in Celsius of course, over the last 24 hours, and the bottom figure is the coldest it got. The one in the middle is the current temperature. And at the touch of a button, all the figures change to Fahrenheit. Woohoo! Because I know Celsius doesn't mean much to lots of you. Right then, that's what's been happening outside. But how about inside the double cloche? And again in Fahrenheit. Obviously, it's much warmer inside than outside. Now, this time of year, when there's a likelihood of cold nighttime temperatures, even a risk of frost, it's the lowest temperature that most interests me. That first night, it didn't get very cold, down to 8 degrees, but it stayed a little warmer inside. It only went down to 11, which doesn't sound much, but it could be critical on a colder night, obviously. Now, I'm not going to show you all the data collecting that I did. I recorded them at the same time each day for a week, even in the rain. And in fact, it was a dull and damp week with no extremes of temperature to talk about. Although there was one day when the sun came out for a couple of hours. Who'd have thought it? And that could have been fatal because the ends of the cloches were closed up and the temperature inside rocketed to a massive 50 degrees Celsius. And you could cook in that. Luckily, I noticed just in time and I watered the squashes before they melted. Whew, poor little things. Anyway, here is my data table for that period. I rounded the numbers up and down as appropriate. As I said, I only have 2 thermometers, so couldn't measure everything every day. And there's just not enough data here to make any bold statements around this. But still, it's pretty clear that a cloche is an excellent thing to use at this time of year. It makes the days warmer and the nights less cold. And a double cloche does the same thing, but even more so. In this little trial, the nighttime temperatures never got dangerously low, but still the squashes would surely have died without protection in the cold wind and the rain that we had. So, cloches are a good idea, but double cloches? Was it worth the extra work and effort for those? Not really, I think, during this particular week anyway. But I suspect if we'd had a chillier week, which was quite possible at this time of year, then double cloches could have meant the difference between success and failure. Perhaps I'll find out next year. In the meantime, I've taken off the double cloches altogether and I'm using them all separately because the weather's changed and it looks like warm weather's on the way. Hoo-hoo! Hooray! Not too warm though, please. I'm cutting pipe up to use as clips to hold the ends open when needed. Okay, but look at this. First of all, these are the squashes I planted out this morning. They are the same age as the ones I planted out in the first video. They haven't grown much in that time since then because they've been in the glass house, which only gets the sun in the afternoons. Whereas here, over here, are those actual first ones that I planted out. And again, all the plants are the same age. And look at the difference. These have had a double cloche over them until this week. And they are enormous in comparison, aren't they? And their flower buds won't be too long before they open. How exciting! As we say in Ireland, vive les cloches! Well, we don't say it very often, but you know what I mean. We were wondering what else cloches could be useful for. From the autumn onwards, through the winter until early spring. Very early potatoes maybe, carrots, anything else?